Welcome to the Journey to Wellness podcast, sponsored by the Essential Wellness Society and Healing Wheel Holistic. I'm Melissa Stonehill-Kyam, and I will be your host. With over 40 years' experience in the health and fitness industry, I am ready to dive in to some of the most conflicting topics we have regards to health today. Let's go. Welcome to the Journey to Wellness podcast. Today I am sitting with Michelle Keller, and I'm really excited to sit with you, Michelle, because what she does is an area of energy quantum healing that I'm really not very familiar with. I'm going to refer to some notes. Her company name is Vibrational Resonance Collective, and she's out of Monument in the Colorado Springs area, basically in Colorado. And it's an Energy Enhancement System, EES, quantum healing, scholar, technology using biophotons. Now that is a mouthful of a lot of stuff right there. So there's a lot of science here where science meets the healing world. And this is a rabbit hole that I like to dive really deeply into because it's an area now where we can actually start to give people studies where they can see the research has been done, and it's probably not far away, or even in some countries considered a medical device. It's just sometimes we're a little slow here getting that through, the FDA and having it all nice and tidy and neat. So I'm going to allow Michelle to talk a little bit more about what all that is. But first, I want to do a little bit of icebreaker with you.
Okay.
So if I were going to hand you right now, it's a round trip ticket, and you got to book this flight in 24 hours, anywhere you want to go in the world, where are you going?
The south of France.
Ooh, she was quick on that. South of France. I hear that's fabulous. Can you tell me more specifically where or why?
I feel called to go to the south of France for energetic reasons. I think of course, I love the adventure and the excitement and travel. And at the same time, I think that we are drawn to certain places so that we can be activated.
Right on.
And so that's the place that's calling to me right now.
So would that be like Nice?
I'm not 100% sure where exactly, but I have a good friend that lives about an hour from there right now.
Okay.
And I'm really bad with geography and the names of things, but
okay.
The calling, maybe we'll just go there right away with this, but the calling for it is because that's where the Mary Magdalene caves are.
Right on. Oh my gosh, yeah, I've seen a lot about that. So I actually curate and help people create retreats, people like you, where we can look at a map and go, wow, south of France, energy, quantum healing near the Mary Magdalene caves. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we should do it. Honestly, life puts people together for a reason, and I think that is brilliant. And I don't think it's been done. I've never been invited to one yet. And I would be like so down for that. And I'm sure so many people watching this right now would be like, oh my God, that's so exotic. Mm-hmm. So awesome. So we're going to jump in. And if you're listening to this, think about where you would like to go if I handed you a ticket. I think it's really important to travel. I think it's important to travel physically. I think it's important to travel spiritually. And mentally, and kind of like, I love working with people and talking to people that are in the fields that you're into, because we're thinking beyond what we're just being fed every day, mm-hmm. right? So I wanted to ask you a little bit, if you could, what kind of got you into this field? What were you doing before? And what was your pivotal point?
Yeah, that's a good question. So before this, I was in a 29-year career in mortgage financing.
Nice.
And about 3 years ago, I resigned from that. About 10 years ago, I really started, waking up, like really starting to become a lot more conscious and aware of how the mind, body, spirit works. Got really into a lot of the science pieces of it, about how the brain works and how actually we have the capacity to change our, just about anything. You can change your health, you can change your thoughts, you can change anything. And then about 3 years ago, it was just obvious that I wasn't meant to stay in the mortgage business. So I asked the universe, align me with my divine passion, put me more in alignment, and I started just following the breadcrumbs. And I went through a few other options that just sort of fizzled out, and I watched an interview that was done, I think it was in May of 2021 or 22, don't quote me on that, 22 I think. It was May of 22. A man by the name of Jason Shurka interviewed the inventor of the technology, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, and it was almost, it sounds weird, it was almost like this Aryan call went out, and those that were meant to hear it picked up on it. And after that interview, they had 70,000 emails to the Energy Enhancement System. So I was one of the emails, and I just kept
70,000
emails within 24 hours.
Can you imagine introducing to something I would love 70,000 responses? That's incredible.
Yeah, it was big. And so I put the wheels in motion to open up a center. So now it went from about 20 centers in the U.S. to now there's close to 200 and about 450 or so all over the globe.
So they franchise their centers?
They're not franchised because they don't want it to be franchised, but they do. It was a bit of wild, wild west because it did happen so quickly for them too. So they kind of had to reverse engineer organizing it and training and helping people get set up, and an organization by the name of Unified Healing works in conjunction with the EESystem to coordinate all these things. So
you were kind of there when this whole thing was evolving. Really, it had its pivotal point of growth.
Yes, and interestingly enough, the technology's been around for 20 years, primarily in private homes.
What does it look like?
It looks like computers and computer screens and monitors on either stands that will be precisely aligned. There'll be I've got 4 stands in my room, and they're precisely aligned to each other so that they will create the scalar field. And they also can be mounted around a ceiling. It's just the alignment of the computer boxes that's super important.
So one might ask, what is the scalar field?
A scalar field is is quantum. So if you think of a toroidal field where it's sort of like an apple where it's collapsing in. That's maybe not the best example, but I don't know if anybody's seen that documentary that Campbell did, Forrest Campbell, where he explains the torus field. It's basically happening inside of everything. So it is where the past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously. It's where it's nonlinear, it's outside of time and space. Our DNA is scalar. So if you create a scalar environment, then you're creating... I like that you compare it
to the DNA because, when people talk about genetics, for instance, if body type is genetic, hairline is genetic, eye color, skin tones, there's genetic predispositions to certain things, and we throw that word around like we accept it, it's genetic. Mm-hmm. But think about it when things are being passed on this deep cellular level, right? It's pretty amazing that two people can come together and create a new genetic type of blueprint, but yet, like my children have the genetics of their father and the genetics of their mother, right? And then this is going on, but those genetics continue to live for generations. Mm-hmm. So we can accept that when we look at a cell in a petri dish. Mm-hmm. But it's really weird in a way to me that people have a hard time accepting it because they can't see it. But I don't see electricity.
Right.
I know that I flip the switch and the lights go on.
Exactly.
Oh, well, there's wires and there's this and there's that. But then they create this field. But it's, so I guess what I'm saying is like this, when you said DNA, I wrapped my head around it better, because I think that's a really good segue for people to understand things that they can't see.
Yeah, and you're going into some of the epigenetics that Bruce Lipton spearheaded and brought to the world about, the awareness of how we're expressing genes from our ancestors that are expressing in us.
But we also know that exposure,
our environment
plays
also changes
a really big deal. You can have a set of twins, and in different environments, the same DNA, right? These identical twins. One is exposed to all kinds of stresses and sadness and life trials and tribulations, and gets a cancer of some sort.
Yeah.
The other one's living the dream and absolutely cancer-free. Well, why am I saying that is because we know, okay, we just said the same DNA, but one is having this experience, one is having that. So then we have to start to look at external forces. What is causing the internal cellular structure to break down?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I'd like to find out more about how, okay, so now we see that we're kind of like in Star Trek Enterprise spaceship with screens around. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And there's creating this field. And now, therefore, what does it do?
Yes. So that's a good segue too, is that you're speaking about the environment that the twins are in, right? So your environment creates your expression, how you're showing up. So this environment, it's creating an environment that allows the body to sync to its innate ability to pick up on the information, to heal and organize itself, because our bodies are designed to do anything and everything for themselves, to bring themselves back into order. Right. So when you give the body the right environment, then you're going to have an optimal space to be able to come into an optimal health situation for and it's not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual too. It's tapping on all levels.
Physically?
Yeah, typically what it looks like, so a typical session looks like, it's a shared space, so that's what makes it dynamic as well. It's not one person at a time. Multiple people can be in the room, in the field at the same time. So ideally you lay down in a recliner or in a bed and you take a nap. 2 hours is ideal.
Come take a nap.
4 hours can be better, especially if people are working on something chronic that's going on for them. And then sleeping in it overnight is really helpful, especially if you're trying to work through something that's really chronic for you. And what most people will experience is they'll feel a little bit of tingling sensation. And that's just because the environment now it's communicating with your cells. It's starting to send the information for your body to start picking up on it and then start organizing it. And so that tingling sensation, from an actual scientific standpoint, it's an increase in the electrical conductivity of the body. The studies show that it increases the electrical conductivity by 28%. What that's doing is increasing, it's oxygenating the red blood cells, it's balancing the pH, it's charging the millivolts of the cells. And all of those things are going to go in and do a multitude of things for your body. They're going to start detoxifying things. It's going to start lubricating the membranes around the cells. And around the membranes of our cells are the neuropeptides. This is where mental, emotional, and physical traumas are stored. So as you lubricate those, they start to release. So people might experience actually having like a memory of a childhood event, or that might happen days after or in the system. Or people might experience a certain tingling sensation be a little more stronger in one area of the body than another. And typically what that is because they've got something going on. They've got gut problems, so their stomach's going to feel a little more of the sensation.
Do you ask people to fast? Do you have people eat a certain way?
No, you don't. I mean, ideally, you don't want to go eat cheeseburgers from McDonald's and then come sit in the system. You want to be well hydrated. You can support your experience by having more trace minerals in the system, being more hydrated. You could eat a meal before you come, after. While you're in there, I don't promote that because it's just messy if people are eating inside of there.
I just know that, like, from my own personal experience, when I want to drop into my own clairs, the more plants I put into my body beforehand and stay away from anything that is death or anything on the low frequency wattage.
Yeah.
I keep that out of my body when I want to be at the highest height I can be. I feel like it just kind of opens up perceptions for me in a different way. And I'm speaking personally. I don't know what happens for other people, but I feel also if your body is really aligned with the pH and not over acid at the time, that you would be more receptive to just about anything electrical. So a couple of questions of curiosity.
Yeah.
Is you have these computers. Are they emitting sound? What are they emitting?
The sound is just from the computers themselves, the like boxes from the fans and things. So there is no actual audible sound. However, there is a series of patterns and colors that are moving on the screens, and these are omitting the photonic information and creating a space where it's putting color therapy. It's got
photonic would
it is
consider
color.
light.
Yeah, it is. And if you really look at it, if you take color and you start to chunk it down from a nanometer, you are getting to a form of sound of music. So it's happening on a non-audible basis. It's happening through true, like, vibrational, frequential.
Right. And anything that moves vibrates, and anything that vibrates creates sound and light.
Right.
So you're saying that all this is happening, but at such a nanoparticle level that it's not audible or visual, really.
Well, there is a visual component because you can see the screens themselves.
So you can see the screens.
And people that come for sessions, they do have a lot of visuals, that they do see things.
Do people journal while they're doing this?
Everybody kind of has their own unique. Some people come in and journal. Some people just take a nap. A few people have visited and they're like, I don't know what this is. This didn't do anything for me, and they don't come back, right? That's a small percentage of people. The majority of people.
That's that non-believer syndrome, where if you tell yourself this is not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, chances are it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because you believe it so strongly that it's not going to work. And that is, again, more power to the mind being so effective, right? I can do this, I could do this. And the people that you study also put out so much on the power of thought.
Yes.
And how you can think yourself into sickness, and you can think yourself into wellness. Not always. It depends how far and deep it goes, but we do know that people do survive a lot better with a positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
Now, you have something coming up with my dear friend, John Thunderheart, and I've been to I've worked with John on his sound baths. I've been to his sound baths. I've been a recipient of his shamanic work. How do you feel the inclusion of the chanting and toning and sounds are going to be with your system?
Yeah, I've done several events with John already, so experienced his sound I'm trying to think, journeys
Yeah,
inside the system already.
100%.
The one coming up this weekend is specifically geared towards shamanic sound journey.
I'm going to go.
Yeah,
do you have any room?
There's a few spots left. The shamanic one seems to be a really popular one. I've got a lot of people that are interested and that are coming. It enhances, because it is an energy enhancement, and it's energy, so it's enhancing the experience. And one of the unique things that is, I've gotten feedback from people who are practitioners and who can see the energy fields and work with the energy fields, is their feedback to me is everything moves through here so quickly, and we don't have to really, it's like it's self-clearing itself, which makes sense because of the scalar component and how it's working with the DNA. It is working with the DNA because it's taking all the deconstructive and detrimental energies and neutralizing them so that it's allowing the DNA to start repairing itself. It's allowing those genetic defects to start repairing themselves.
It's so interesting.
They've done studies with NASA that actually show that, and you're probably familiar with this term, the telomeres. Studies show it lengthens the telomeres. So for those that aren't familiar with telomeres, the telomeres, when you start to lengthen telomeres, you're going into reverse aging, basically.
Right, it's like the fountain of youth.
It's a cellular regeneration. The system creates the environment that communicates with your cells.
Right.
And it's not targeting. It won't, you can't target, I'm going in there because, you've got something going on with your ankle right now. However, because it's innate, it's going to allow you to sync to your body's own innate ability to organize itself.
Right.
It's going to start taking care of what it needs to.
Man, I feel like a junk drawer lately, but no, what I'm saying is like we all go through things in life where we absorb, and we may be really good at deflecting and working things through. And I don't know about people who are listening, but for me, I body trip. What does that mean? Is that I'm the oldest of a very large family, and the matriarch of my family. I've got kids, I got grandkids. So I have to be Wonder Woman most of the time and absorb and calm and coach and listen and walk away with a smile, kiss everybody, pat on your back, and then I go into my own space, and then I'll be like, oh crap, what the hell, and I'll have my own emotions. You can relate, you're a mom and a grandma.
And the oldest of
right?
7. So.
Well, we have a lot in common, but you know what I'm saying? So like I was telling you before, like it'll land in a shoulder, it'll land in an injury. For me, it's always skeletal muscular where I take it in, where all of a sudden I'm like, because mentally I'm always trying to be really, really in flow, but it's so funny how the psyche and the subconscious mind, you can't fool it. And when you have like emotions that are stuck in your connective tissue, or wherever they feel like going, whatever area, people get headaches, earaches, throat stuff, whatever, we're affected by it. So a lot of people feel blissful, they feel like they're in their zen, but then they have lower back pain or they have issues. So I feel like they are storing, like you said in the beginning, you're storing trauma. And the traumas, you can think you let go of it mentally. Maybe you went for therapy to go through some abuse, but then you got this thing in your hip that won't let go.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that this type of thing is really good for this lack of awareness that we have.
And you're touching on something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm working on creating some learning content or coursework around, deprogramming the subconscious before going into manifesting things, because we do, you know this because we were talking ahead of time and you follow Bruce Lipton, but 95% of what we do, say, and feel is coming from the subconscious programming. Now, someone like yourself and I who have been working on bringing more of the subconscious and unconscious to our consciousness, we're starting to, lower that. We're starting to get more involved with it. And I can certainly say, since I've had the system in play for over a year and a half now, it has helped me fast track through and become way more aware of the subconscious and unconscious programmings. They're much more conscious. So this does actually help expedite anything you're wanting to choose to work on. And for me, that's kind of my baby. Like, I don't have necessarily any physical ailments. A lot of the system owners, have Lyme disease, or they have other things they're dealing with that they've had profound results with. For me, it's this engagement with the consciousness and coming into this awareness of the truth of who we really are, and starting to actually deprogram the subconscious mind to do that. And you're right, like, it gets stored in the body, it gets stored in the way we show up, it gets stored in the nervous system, it shows up in the relationship, the bad relationship we keep having,
I love the deprogramming aspect, and people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know that they don't know it, right? Those blind spots that we have in human nature. And I've heard so many times, one of my skill sets is life coaching, and it's Jungian, and I've heard so many times of, well, I'm like this because, and then here's the map of why I'm like this. So, like, wow, you just gave yourself permission to have all the problems that you love to have, because how you define yourself with your problems. Yeah. So you don't want to let go of your problems, because then you don't know who you are. And that's the deprogramming of, we are told what to think and what to believe and how to believe and what we like as food or colors or anything from the second we are born.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's that critical point until you're around age 7, where your brain is actually in a state where it's just programmable. You don't have the ability to critically think. Right. So this is where a lot of the stuff that we picked up started. And then, we definitely add to it as we go.
No, it's really important. And we can go on and on and on about that, because I feel like, you and I can look at things from a different lens, because we have a couple of decades behind us. So you can look down and go, wow, I know I was programmed here and there, and what would I have done differently if that wasn't the thing, and how would I have felt in my body? And I don't know if I'm correct, but I think women tend to body trip a little bit more and hold on to things, especially, I know 100% that it's a pelvis is a place, like, people get stress in their neck, and women get stress in the pelvic floor, where we take in our burden. And the things that you were saying about the telomeres, that was a deep dive when we went into breath work and studying Wim Hof level 1 and practicing it, and doing a lot of the different varieties of breath that takes you to some great space, mind, body, and spirit. But what your own breath can do for you on a cellular level, I just wow. Look, I just feel like the lungs are the greatest drug we have available to us, and teaching people how to breathe, how to work through their psyche, how to sit in the chair for 2 hours to 4 hours to be in stillness. And to allow things to reprogram. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity that you're giving people.
Yeah, it is amazing technology, and to some people I think it seems a little too good to be true. You're just in there with computers and monitors. How's this actually doing anything? And that's why they do have a lot of studies to back it up. Yeah. And they also do have tons of testimonials that are coming in. I mean, they have thousands and thousands of them now. I mean, people from having tumors that go away to having Parkinson's disease and being able to not be so shaky all the time and navigate things, to ADD, to mental emotional, helping with mental and emotional.
Great for ADD.
Because it does balance the right and left brain.
Just sit for 2 hours, and that's hard enough for some people.
It is creating, the studies do show it is balancing right and left brain hemispheres, so that brings your brain into a deep theta state, which allows you to relax.
Right.
It also creates a hyper, like learning state as well. I have one of my members, she actually is going to school for, back to school I should say, because she's, in her 60s, and she comes in the system to study.
Right on.
So that she can land the information better.
I love that.
So,
That's
yeah.
fabulous. So I have a couple more questions. One, you mentioned membership.
Yes.
So what is that like?
So I do offer, so the cost for the system, you'll find all around, they want to keep it at $60 or less per hour. They don't, they don't, that is one thing. We're not franchised, but they're like, hey, let's keep this affordable. Let's not gouge everybody for it. So mine's set at $55 per hour, and then I've created packages and monthly memberships that get that hourly rate down to as low as $10 an hour for the premium membership, which is $498 a month. That gets you 48 hours worth of time and 1 overnight. To the packages, they get it down to like $35 an hour, where you can buy like group packages of 4 hours or 8 hours. And then there is a lower, not a lower, but kind of an ideal membership plan where it's $109 a month for 4 hours, and that's $27 an hour. So that keeps it
$109 a month for 4 hours.
And that's really for someone who's maintaining themselves, to be honest, that already has a good health, and they're just looking to keep themselves maintained. If you're looking to really tackle something that you're working on, you do need to put more time into it.
And how would do people connect with you? And is there an intake form? How doss that work?
No intake form. I have a website. You can go to EESystemcolorado.com. Also, you can go to vibrationalresonancecollective.com, but the other one's
So we'll have all those notes in this podcast on the bottom. So, we'll get everything there so that people can see your links. And on your website, do you have links to some studies as well?
Yes, it links to the research, it links to the testimonials, to booking, to the membership packages and programs. And then I do host a lot of events, with John Thunderheart, and I have regular meditation groups the first and third Fridays of every month.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
This sounds really fabulous. I think I'm going to get addicted to something new. I just bought a little home device for near infrared, and just red light therapy, dealing with an injury that I have. And I went to the orthopedic surgeon, and he said, well, what are you doing for it? I'm like, it's really been hard. I'm like, well, just bought this device. And he lit up, and he said, that's great. I just bought the sauna. I said, so medically, because he's super allopathic, I'm like, he's a surgeon. I'm like, so medically, you're feeling that red light, infrared, near infrared, all this stuff, like, it's really good? He said, I like the near infrared, he said, for orthopedic stuff. And he said, I can hand you articles on it.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to see that these different therapies are now coming into mainstream.
Yeah.
Because we are just, unfortunately, we're a nation of pharmaceuticals, and take this for sleep and take this for anxiety and pop this pill for pain, and we're not getting underneath it all.
Right.
So I feel great that you brought this to our area of Colorado, and I'm sure people come in far and near to come experience you and stay some of the Airbnbs around or whatever. So it's very obtainable no matter where you live. Colorado's a phenomenal place to visit, and we are probably the best kept secret of the second largest city here in Colorado, because we're tiny. Even though we're supposed to be the second largest, it still feels very homey and small town. I hope it stays that way. So you guys can come to visit, but you don't have to move here. But we'd love you to come visit. So you mentioned your website. Is there a phone number or email that you'd like to share?
If anybody wants to reach out to me directly, they can call me at 303-210-3446. The website's probably the best way to get all the other contact information.
That's perfect. And last question, people of all ages, do you ever work with people and their animals too?
I am not set up. Animals love the system. In fact, the animals are what I think convince a lot of people that it's real, because animals, nobody's told them what's going on, and they have profound results as well. I'm just not set up to
not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Not today.
Yeah, but I've had children as small as like 2, 3, 4 years old. People will bring their teenage daughters with them, or their younger kids with them.
It's a real family affair.
Mm-hmm. A lot of families do come. Mostly, I would say adults, but the children are welcome.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me today to sit with Michelle Keller, and I'm so excited to attend one of your events and really give this a test drive for myself.
Yeah.
And I'll be my own little crash test dummy to see my own before and after, because I've got lots of pain that I'm dealing with that I know comes from just stuff clogged in the field. And I wanted to thank you for joining us again today on the Journey to Wellness podcast. I am podcasting today from the coolest cafe in all of this part of Colorado. It's the Treehouse Cafe, owned by Sarah Grant. It is a phenomenal meeting place for all people. The menu's great, the cafe's great, the coffee's great. This is a pumpkin coffee. Pumpkin's out. So see you next time.